Going live. It's good. May 26th, 2023, day 869 of the first incarceration of January 6ers. I've got a lot to talk about tonight, but as usual, we'll start off with a brief prayer and a pledge of allegiance. Heavenly Father, please help to guide us tonight as we continue to try to shine your light on the people that are confined in this jail, the people that work in this jail, and all the people in our communities who are affected by everything that goes on inside this jail. We pray that you will help to guide these people who are in charge and have care of over 400 individuals in this facility on any given day to make the right decisions and treat their fellow man in a way that they would like to be treated as well. As much as possible, help guide them to do that. Help guide the J6ers who are going through sentencing now as they get this crucial point in their lives. Help their families who are sitting on pins and needles, hoping for better outcomes than often they get. And please continue to make sure that folks keep this issue in their hearts, because there's no greater travesty in the United States at this point as what has happened to the January 6ers being incarcerated unfairly, unjustly. Please help all of our families, including my children and my son, who especially right now, God, seeks your guidance and needs your help. And I know you're there for him, as you are for all of our loved ones who are going through trials and tribulations in their lives. In Jesus' name, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Thank you all. And so I'm excited to list off a few new names here that I was not aware of. This came from one of our frequent caller inmates. I sent him the entire list and I asked him, have we missed anyone? And he actually sent 7 new names to me. Really? So I don't believe that we've ever helped them on commissary. Must have been here early, you know, when we figure this out, but I'll call them each out when we get to them. So as always, I would want to recognize every individual's J6er that we know of that's gone through this facility, through these doors. And as everybody's heard and listened to these vigils, whenever these folks who are gone from here talk about this place, it's almost like they go 2 levels lower in their, you know, just enthusiasm. They just really, really have some dark memories of this place, and that says a lot. So again, just to recognize these people, along with the new ones, that I think we have 48 now. So first one, Adam Lede Jackson, Albuquerque Head, Andrew Quinton Taki, Brandon Fellows, Brian Jackson, brother of Adam, Chris Quaglin, Daniel Rodriguez, Daryl Neely, and like Daryl likes to say, here's a new one. David Judd is a new one that I did not have, along with Dominic Pizzola. I was not aware that he was here. Enrique Tario, those are both big names that people will recognize. Ethan Nordine, Jeffrey Sills, Howard Adams, Howard Richardson, Israel Easterday, James Grant, James T. Grant, I believe, Jeffrey Brown, who was the last J6er to leave this facility. Jonathan Manafo, Hosea Kenyon, Justin David Jersey, Cash Lee Kelly. Here's a new one. Kenneth Harrelson. Kyle Young, Lucas Denny, Mahala Pryor, Mark Mazza, a new one, Mark Ponder, Ponder, Marcus Malley, Mason Corson, and the last new one on my list, Matthew Miller. Mitchell Todd Gardner, Nicholas Brockhoff, Nicholas Lagrand, Wilden, Robert Morse, Ronald Sandlin, Ronnie Presley, Ryan Sampsell, Samuel Lazar, Tim Boehner, Troy Sargent, William Robert Norwood, William Rogan Reed, Zachary Jordan Alam, oh, this is the last new one, Zachary Reel. All right. So this week I was in DC, and I listened to some of the sentencing that was going on. Looks like we're recording just fine. So I was there for Robert Morse, Lego Man. Robert's sentencing was on the 24th. And to understand everything that goes into the whole sentencing arrangement, it's probably 45 minutes of back and forth. Judge talks about sentencing guidelines, throws it up there for the government to make their recommendations or arguments for typically stricter sentences. Defense attorney gets up and does the same in the opposite direction, presents evidence and reasons for why. The judge explains how this whole process works, and then he comes back and makes his own determination of the sentencing guidelines to utilize. So they might be talking about as many as 109 months. They may end up with a range of 51 to 69 months, and then the judge decides at some point, and also gives the prisoner a chance to speak on their own behalf. And Robert Morris did another to write his notes, so it was kind of cool that I got to help him out there. And again, he did just a fantastic job. However, it was a fairly significant sentence, 66 months, $2,000 of restitution. And I'll talk about the restitution here in a little bit, because that's a common theme on all of these guys. Well, I'll just say it right now. So one of the judges, it may have been McFadden, it might have been Mehta, M-E-H-T-A, I'm not sure which. And who knows, it could have even been the last judge I saw, Colleen Collar Cotley, but they're throwing around a number of $2 million of damages from the activities on J6, and so they're passing down these restitution. They've got fines, they've got other stuff, but the restitution one seems to be a big one. And they're throwing $2,000 at every individual, or a lot of them. So if you think about 1,000 individuals, there's your $2 million, and they claim that, you know, the doors were damaged and extra cleanup and who knows what else, but that's part of this whole charade as well. So yeah, Robert, he spoke very, very well for himself. I think the judge was going to throw him pretty serious. Most people will have seen by now, the following day on the 25th, Stuart Rhodes, founder of Oath Keepers, was sentenced to 18 years. Stuart's another one of those phenomenally educated and well-spoken individuals. He had a team of attorneys, of 4 different attorneys at his table. The government had about 4 as well, but it seemed to me like each one of the attorneys had a different area they were focused on. So it was a really great defense they put together, but essentially they got charged with the seditious conspiracy charge, which carries a lot of time. And again, he got 18 years. And then later that afternoon, I didn't get to see it, Kelly Meggs also had his sentencing, and he received 12 years. On Thursday at 11, I did get to attend Nick Brockhoff's sentencing, and Nick spoke very eloquently as well about just, how he was remorseful for the events and apologized to anyone that had been affected. And we believe that the judge actually took some real pity on him. But I mean, again, his good behavior, and he was a trustee, and he was, shown. I think the judge even said, "This is very fascinating. I got to go back and look at my notes." But you never got in trouble once while you were in jail, and you were at Northern Neck, of all places. For that to happen, that says something. And that just really struck with me. But so his sentencing guidelines were somewhere around the 50 to 60 months, and the judge gave him 36. So it was a significant downgrade. He's been in there for almost full 2 years. I think he was arrested just a few days ago in 2021. So he's just shy of 2 years already. So that's what I know on that front. We've got some more guys coming up soon. Barry Ramey is going to be on June 1st. Kyle Young is going to be on June 7th. Marcus Adams, June 16th. Mason Corson, June 16th. And Dan Rodriguez, 6/21. And I'll check again and probably publish some of that information out there as it gets updated. So I'm just going to take a quick break here.
David Judd was, because he was with Jeffrey and he was on house arrest.
Yeah, I mean, I read their names, so maybe not.
But I know the other one. Yeah, the other ones are.
So the group has decided to have a table at the Virginia Tea Party Semi-Annual Summit on June 10th. So that'll be Northern Neck Patriots and probably a few others that are going to come on in, hoping to get some of these podcasters, people like Mel Hawley, some others to come in who really understand the personal stories of these J6ers. So we're working on putting together some materials. So we love the thing that you did for Jeffrey. These are great little handouts, and that's still active and still works. And if you can bring more of those, and if you're coming, I don't know, but it somehow. Okay, great. And then I found I just got to give a shout out here. Really amazing website this afternoon. I was looking just to try to get the most current information, of all the J6ers. NPR, of all places, has a searchable database. You can put in different categories. You can by date, by age, by whatever, different categories, but it's got everybody in there. Talks a little bit of a descriptive narrative of what they were alleged to have done, and then the actual federal charges, and then the status of their pleading and or sentencing. So it's a really good place to check on these guys. So I recommend you to go to National Public Radio, NPR.
Of all places.
Of all places. All right, and then let me see. I might read some more stuff here from the sentencing. So again, I lost my pen the first day for when Robert was going, so I didn't take any notes. And I'm going to give him hell about that the next time I talk to him, because you had my pen. I didn't take notes on your sentence. But anyway, this was during the Rhodes sentencing, and the judge was Mehta, is his name, M-E-H-T-A or something like that. He is very soft-spoken, which I find extremely annoying in a judge, that you can't even hear him over the loud, system, the sound system. You can barely hear the judge. But yeah, Amit P. Mehta, M-E-H-T-A, he's an Obama appointee, I know that. And very hard to hear, but at least he started out when they're reviewing the sentencing guidelines, and there's challenges that are put up back and forth between the various parties and the attorneys, and they were trying to question, the defense was trying to question the recommended 3-level enhancement, which is there's a basic sentencing guideline for any crime, and then there's enhancements that can get added onto it or taken away from it, depending upon the individual's case. And so they were pushing back on this 3-level enhancement, and the judge was talking about but for cause language, but for cause. And he gave an example. If there's 3 people and there's a car on the edge of a cliff, and 3 people together push the car up so it flips over and goes over the cliff, all 3 of those individuals are responsible for this action. How can you assign individual blame to any one of them when they were all part? It was one of those kinds of arguments that was going on. So basically, he used that example to say that the 3-level enhancement will stand, and control will be a factor in the sentence. So what he was teeing up was the fact that Stewart Rhodes, although he did not go into the Capitol, he was there on January 6th. He left at some point during the things before it got really, I don't know exactly when, but they obviously did. They were talking about a phone call at 2 o'clock. Their whole argument is to show that Stewart Rhodes was in control of the Oath Keepers, considered himself to be the leader of the Oath Keepers. And that he was directly controlling their actions. Whereas what apparently happened was Kelly Meggs took a group of 6 people and decided to go up the steps and go in. Now, for some reason, when they did that, there was a clearing of the crowd. It was like the sea parted, and they strolled right up. But the doors weren't open prior to their arrival, and then while they were up at the front, then the doors opened from the inside, and they went in. So they've claimed, though, that they've somehow or other damaged these doors. They talked about the Columbus doors. And they weren't going to get into all of the discussion around the damages, because there was a statute that allows 90 days for the judge to, if I understood that correctly, they weren't going to figure that out that day. So they claimed that Stewart Rhodes used language in text messages, etc., that said such things as, if he doesn't use the Insurrection Act to get Chi-Com Joe out of office, we'll have to fight a real civil war. They won't free us until we come with rifles. If Trump just lets them remove him from office, we should have brought rifles. So they use that to claim that Mr. Rhodes' speech in furtherance of the conspiracy is not protected speech. Basically, they're wanting to say that he's the reason why the folks went into the Capitol.
So they're trying to use clear and present danger as a reason.
However, what's interesting, the defense came back and said, yeah, but you're overlooking the fact that there was phone calls that were exchanged, that Mr. Rhodes, when he found out, when he was told that Kelly Meggs had taken those 6 individuals into the Capitol, his response was, well, that was stupid. And then from another witness, that was effing stupid. So clearly there's a lot of back and forth here over these facts that are going to be utilized to assess his sentencing. And again, I was there for an hour and a half until Nicholas Brockhoff's sentencing was going to happen at 11, so I shifted to that, and I didn't hear the final arguments, or I didn't hear Stewart speak for himself, because I imagine that was probably pretty impressive. He's a well-spoken, very highly educated Yale man, I think. So that would have been interesting to hear, and hopefully that will come out at some point. But all right, so I'm told it's already out there, so that's good. Yeah, I'm sure it was. All right, I'm just going to put the mic down for a minute and wait for some calls to come in.
If you want to say anything, I've got a really big, long microphone cord there. If you want to say anything.
Well, if something comes up that
I'm going to take your picture because I'm going to be making a card for them. Put some of our pictures on it.
Did I ever give you the names that Mason Corson told me? That Barry Randy told me that were additional people that have to be here?
you told me about it. Thank you.
They got asterisks next to the names.
It might be where Susan just handed you this.
Yeah, that's the list.
If you need
okay.
bug spray, I have bug spray in the car.
I can't stay too long. I'm going to New York to see the
Oh, no.
war. So you gotta
Before we
hit
get
the
back
road
to
early.
this, as far as it sounds like that extra car is in your way. And you brought that up last night, but I was a little tired and buzzed.
Yeah,
I couldn't relate.
got it. Hey, the
But
big
anyway, I thought about it now that we're more refreshed. If we do that thing tomorrow, you could always drive it over, pick me up, and then after we do that, I could drive you back to your place. I don't know. It's not bothering me, but it sounds like it's in your way. So that's. Don't worry about that if you see my truck. Yes. Yeah, in fact, I've got a call from him. He wants to take some down to the probably at the end of the month, but
Yeah, well, this is the first time I've with work and been able to get out this far.
No, I didn't mean that directed toward you.
Oh, I know.
I was laughing at the
Well, that's what I'm saying. If I don't hurry and get it,
But
it'll
you can have
be
the
over with.
Well, I've seen her trying to
Yeah,
get a
I
mailing
can't
list
do
because a lot
much,
of the
but I
families
can
have
sit
asked
till
about
I
it.
sit in
And
the
try to get some
backyard and
volunteers.
read.
Well, I'm doing
Yeah, that's good.
saving them for Jeffrey too. You know.
Well,
So
that's
are we
what
gonna do
a lot of
the
them say. They like
July Patriot meeting on July 4th?
No, we moved it a week.
when you go there, if you have any issues
Okay.
missing, let me know and I'll make sure.
That's
This
what I
is
was
good.
wondering. So it's a week after? The week after?
Yeah.
I
That's what I
would
was
want the
wondering.
same thing, to be able to.
I'll put it on my calendar.
Been busy.
That's okay.
Yes.
It's just such a tough time for the J6ers
All
because
the court cases.
these jackass judges are just going to
And
do what they're going to do.
there are so many fronts to this
They
war.
are.
It's
They
not
need to
easy.
change the law to make change of venues
It's
mandatory.
all over the place.
When it's where the so-called crime is committed. I've never heard of them doing that to anybody else.
It's
I agree.
I can't imagine because I just have one person involved in that, you know. And that take
The only
some.
good thing is DeSantis has
much
also
time,
come
so
out
worrying about
and
it.
said that he would pardon the
That's
majority
just
of the
like
it's,
J6ers.
it's
But, you know, even the ones that did stuff,
enlisted.
they're way past what a
And
normal
the
section
notion of no man left on the
yeah.
battlefield.
Because
So-
even
Take
the
it to
inmates
heart.
asked Jeffrey, why are you in jail?
And
Why
Yeah,
are you
it's-
here?
there's this
Plus,
is a huge
I
pain.
noticed the jackass Hole, one of his letters to McBride,
You know,
You're a
as
fellow
he
American.
keeps
after I
Well, I
read
kept
that
reminding him,
letter
they're
from
detainees. They are not. So he capitalizes the word in there. That's what a belligerent jerk is.
Yeah.
I was
You know,
shaking.
no one there
Like
to
I
do it,
said,
but I'm
she let us
emphasizing
drive.
and tell you.
For 4 days I was
That's
so
So
upset.
I'm going to have a meeting with
Let me
sheriff
tell
people
you,
on that very topic.
Jeffrey was
Monday.
right. They've got metal
gonna
dust
share
that
it with
pulled
him?
down or
Now, is
whatever.
he a J6 sir?
This happened
Or is
last
he
week.
just in
No,
jail?
he's
Well,
like your son. He's a
he dropped
pretrial
something,
detainee,
bent down to pick it up.
and he's being mistreated. And that's kind of the point.
He's got
Without the J6, we wouldn't know
Nine
about
staples in his what?
all
head.
of the
He
other.
hit his head.
But like I said, I was so upset I had
And
to
he
rest
said,
for 4
Mom,
days.
it's
I just
total night
have
and
to
day.
be mad. It's
Between
just-
here and there. He said all the guys in the car were like really
Very
he's running to the bathroom with
Hitler-esque.
the blood.
It really is. It really
It truly is, but
So
I'll-
somebody grabbed
so
a towel
that's a really
and,
good
you know,
subject.
other person went and got a CO.
and even that
CO's
story
came in,
isn't-
immediately took
it's-
him to medical. Immediately
It's
called
reasonably
the
close
doctor,
that Hitler was a dick.
doctor
Okay,
was
so
in,
Yeah.
we got that. But
did the staples.
not
They
quite the
even-
way
they
the
gave him
story is
clean
going.
clothes to go back to the pod.
So it turns
He said,
out
"Mom,
that
within an hour and a half, I was back in the
when everything first
Yeah.
started
He
out,
said same thing happened over here. But it's not
I don't know if you
bad."
ever heard of a thing called the Balfour Accord.
He said, Mom,
There was an agreement
it took them forever.
between European nations and Israel that would repatriate
They don't care.
Jews.
In fact, they've been sued over and over.
So when the war
for
first
medical
broke
stuff.
out,
But they lie on all
under
the
everybody's
forms.
agreement,
As you know, in fact, Jeffrey
Jews were being
was one of the ones
picked
early
up.
on that
They
said
weren't being picked up, they were actually voluntarily going.
most
so
of the
they
time
could
they
be
don't even make it to that part. They get thrown in the trash can.
But he said here they took forever to die.
Then,
He went to
along
back
about
to the doctor
1939,
today, the staples
1940,
removed, and they
maybe a little bit earlier than that. A little further than before, they're called the Bolsheviks.
So
They're the
he was
guys
very
that
impressed.
started
And then they found out
and rabble-roused in the Russian
started talking
Revolution
to him about that race.
back in 1917.
So
Well,
Well, luckily the
Those
polls
same
are up about
guys
70% now, and
came
people
into
that,
Germany and said,
that believe
this is the way it's going to be. Now, you
So
got to keep in mind,
thankfully,
these
over
Bolsheviks,
time,
at the
the
time, they
lies are
controlled all the
slowly
money in the world.
dissipated. Because the,
They told Hitler how it was going to be.
um,
They had Ford
report
Motor
that just came
Corporation
out,
do
Durham.
Yeah.
concentration
How could it
camps.
be more damning? They admit they raped the 16 election,
Ford Motor Corporation
20, and they're working right now.
and
on
the
building
railroad
24.
tracks that led to them.
I
No.
understand
Yes.
that report didn't recommend any
could that be?
penalties against them. So
Money.
Well, they normally
Follow
don't because
the money.
don't.
they have to
Always
give that
been
to the
about
Department of
the money.
Justice, then the
But I
Department of
don't,
Justice
you know,
is the one
that
that
I
makes
don't
recommendations.
understand how people
So, forget it.
value money more than.
Now, he is
I
going to
just don't
testify
get
in front of the
Okay,
I
Congressional
mean, I know so
committees,
many people do,
Here's
but
the deal.
and I think that's going to bring out even
Explain that.
more detail. But
There
I think
is a
his
group of
job is
people we
only to
call
find the evidence, and then it's up to him.
Post-Adam from the Bible.
Unfortunately,
And then
the
there's a
Justice
group of people
Department
called
too.
pre-Adam. Those are the ones that were in the cities before Adam.
They always make
wait a second.
recommendations, even though they
There's
can't
Adam and
enforce
Eve.
it, they always have
There were all
recommendations.
these other people in these
Justice
cities,
Department, but I didn't see it.
right?
Yeah.
Well, that's what it is. So there were people there that were in these cities and towns before Adam
Oh,
and Eve.
I'm
They're
doing
pre-Adam.
the front page. I'm going to do a big
Post-Adam.
thing on
And the
English.
pre-Adam people,
The
they live
Two
today.
Faces of Jonathan English.
And it's
funny, I've got the
more
little
than
baby
just
face
genetic.
picture when he
So you
first
can have
started,
a
like,
pre-Adam person
going out of high
and
school, then the way he looks
Adam
now.
person
Just
in
big
one
baby
family,
face.
same parents.
But he's a sneaky rascal.
The point
he just
is
got
that
reelected to
the
town council.
pre-Adam people,
And running, he had a picture of
Tend to
him
be
and his
more
wife
bad.
and his little children all.
they tend to be the
Dressed up
people
in their
that
Sunday
don't
best.
really care about their fellow
even
man.
though they, well, I guess
Post-Adam
they don't
people,
know what
Adam people,
he's being accused of.
they tend to be a
We're in the
little bit more
post-Adam
concerned
world
about
now.
their fellow man.
Well, most of the
That's
council
kind of where the
people got
difference
two
is.
guns now.
so it's inborn.
All right.
See,
But not
that was
genetically.
back
Yes, it's
in
inborn.
November,
It's
before
inborn
a lot of really
spiritual.
bad stuff came out about English. So,
And
but he's
At his sentencing. Now, Nick is one of the youngest guys that were there at January 6th. He was 19 at the time. And so the government statement was they felt that the mid-range sentence of 51 months was warranted. Something about the defendant being one of many drops of rain in the waters that, you know, blah, blah, blah. What makes this defendant so dangerous is that the fact that he knew better but did it anyway.
excuse me.
He deployed fire extinguishers at least 5 times from an elevated position onto officers, and it at least impeded them from doing their duty. It was only by luck that the officers weren't injured by the chemicals coming from the fire extinguishers.
Yeah, global warming, CO2.
Since they're not fatal.
Exactly. So he was arrested on May 27th, 2021, and he's been in custody ever since. So May 27th, there you go. Just short. 2
years.
Yep.
Did he do it, or did they just say he did it?
No, he did it. He admitted to it. So the defense's argument was Mr. Brockhoff has been a model citizen. He worked as a trustee at Northern Neck Regional Jail. He took college courses. He had no complaints against him while he was in custody, and the judge even said, and that says a lot considering you were at Northern Neck for a lot of that time.
Really? Wow.
When Nick got up to speak, he apologized to Your Honor. I'm sorry to be in your courtroom today. I can confidently say I will never be in your courtroom again. He apologized to anybody that he may have caused any impact or harm on. And then they took a break. His mother was very supportive, of course, there. She came the day before to watch the what was going on with Robert Morse's sentence, so she kind of had an idea of what was going to happen. I thought she brought up direct2j6.com as a good place for people to get money to January 6th. So it's direct, the number 2, the letter J, the number 6, direct2j6.com. You can either send money, or it just shows you where they are, and you can send emails or cards or that kind of thing. So it's a great place for folks who want to continue to follow these guys and help support them, you know, as they are moving into this next phase. I found this interesting. I wrote it down. So the judge, again, kind of acknowledged how Nick had been a good student, been in sports, had been active in the community and done things, that he had several job offers, I believe, and she read that she understands that he wants to pursue a commercial fishing career. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
Fisher of men.
The judge then said there was no signed consent form and that the mother and father were not cooperative, at which point April, who's sitting right in front of me, said, "That's a lie." And somebody put her hand on her shoulder and said, "No, you can't speak out in the courtroom." And the judge said something about his father wasn't and then it was Tammy that was there. She kind of really was rubbing her shoulder like, "No, just calm down, it'll be all right." So the judge kind of summarized all of it prior to his sentence, saying that he assaulted the officers by discharging a fire extinguisher onto them. He kicked open a door to a conference room, or helped others to do that, where then I believe Nick may have reached inside to unlatch the door. And he stole a piece of U.S. Senate stationery that was found in his home later, with a Bible verse written on it. And he also climbed into a broken window. So they kind of had him on that stuff. She said, "You've anyone. You've had no incidents while detained, and you were at Northern Neck, where that is not easy to do. You were a trustee. There's no evidence of advanced planning. The guidelines are 46 to 57 months. And the question I have to myself," this is the judge speaking, "is what sentence do I give to comply with 3553A sentencing guidelines?" I haven't had a chance to research that yet, but she said, I am going to vary downward. And then she just put it out. 36 months on. Once he's served his time, he needs to appear again. 2,000 restitution in a check made payable to the architect of the Capitol, or $100 a month, whichever you choose to do. Apparently he had some money in his bank account. They know all this information. And that goes back to what I said earlier, the $2 million worth of damage that they're going to spread up over 1,000 people, 2,000 apiece, to get that back. And then finally, he had a choice of where to be remanded to. I don't know if that's the right word. He requested FCI Ashland parents, his mom and his dad. I think the judge was fairly agreeable to that. I think he's probably back at Lewisburg in the meantime until he gets there. So yeah, that's it on Nick Brockhoff. And again, that was a very significant downgrade in the sentence, and the attorney was pretty happy with it afterwards outside the hallway talking about it. That's the first that judge, and that was Judge Colleen Kollar, Kollar hyphen Kotelly, Kotelly. So she seemed to be pretty by the book, I noticed, but again, way less than the DC District Court. It's the Perryman Court building right on Constitution Avenue, and that's where all these guys are going to be, having their sentencing. Trials are still going too. Oh, by the way, I saw. Who did I see? Daryl Neely. Oh yeah. I also have a photo of Officer Dunn sitting outside of the courtroom getting ready for Stewart Rhodes' trial. So he sat in there and apparently spoke about how he was still so unable to return to work, or dreaded returning to work, and he's never been the same, and he's a shell of his former self. And this dude is about 6'6" tall and about 350 pounds. He's definitely living a decent life, and I think he's doing just fine. I saw him fist bumping people in the hallway, that were workers in the courtroom or something. And so yeah, he's a poor fella, the crying cop. I know I saw him appear before the January 6th committee and break down in tears and so on, yeah, but I didn't see him.
There's one where there's some J6ers standing there, they're not hurting anybody, and this big Hulk, surrounded by the cops, says, "You're intimidating me, you better back off," and like he's scared of him. And they actually escorted him to a different part of the building because this big baby felt intimidated.
Eric, say that again.
Anyway, at the hearing, you can see Dunn pretending like he's frightened to death, and some other J6ers escorted him to a different part of the building because he was so supposedly terrified. And of course, as you know, he, as far as these congressional hearings, he recently made the statement, yeah, I know they want to open this back up so everybody will be able to see us get our butts kicked again. For the record, no one ever laid one finger on this big Hulk. So, anyway, it's almost beyond belief. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot this. Months ago, I wrote an article about Dunn. He's a big BLM advocate. And at first, he tried to downplay it, but I've got a picture of him with a great big banner. So this is the type of people we're dealing with.
So is he going to file for bankruptcy along with BLM?
No, this is going to be a career for this guy. There's a couple other ones too. The guy from Neck Tattoo.
Yeah.
And some Hispanic guy. They should all go to
It's coming. Take a while, but it's coming.
So I was standing outside of one of the vacant courtrooms, just doing a work call, trying to get caught up on something, and a official person came by and said, "You need to clear this hallway. We were transporting a prisoner." So I had to get, and so I kept an eye back over my shoulder, and I see them escorting a guy in an orange jumpsuit who's got his cuffs on. Is Daryl Neely. And he looks over and sees me, and he gives me a thumbs up. And I waved at him. But I know he doesn't know who I was, but he noticed that I was looking at him. So Daryl's a very interesting guy. I've learned a little bit more since he's called in here. You might recall when he called that one time, he was talking about the radio station and the communications website and everything he's got set up. He's got some kind of a program. So here's the write-up I found in NPR, of all places. Daryl Neely works for the Global Entertainment Radio Network, court documents state. The network's website says that Martian Revelation and America's Cannabis Conversation. Prosecutors allege that Neely breached the U.S. Capitol and can be seen on video smoking a marijuana cigarette inside the building. According to multiple witnesses, they had phone and video calls while he was in and around the Capitol. And he allegedly told people they had taken items from the building, including China plates, as well as a Capitol Police officer's jacket, hat, and badge. He later, while wearing Capitol Police hat, according to court documents, FBI agents interviewed Neely twice, and he admitted to entering the Capitol building because, allegedly, he said, he felt the events were newsworthy. Newsworthy, absolutely. Neely allegedly said he felt the events were newsworthy. He provided photos to take from inside the building up to the FBI and showed agents videos he had taken during the riot. Neely served in and exited the U.S. Navy in 1994. He was arrested on October 18th. So his charges are civil disorder, theft of government property, entering and remaining in a restricted building or grounds, probably the most common charge, disorderly and disruptive conduct in restricted building or grounds, disorderly conduct in a Capitol building, parading, demonstrating, or picketing in a Capitol building. Now, I found this very interesting. Of all these guys, I've printed out little bios from NPR, of all places. And so a lot of them have photos, but they have their charges and they have their plea or their sentencing. There's relatively few people that have pled not guilty to all charges. So let's just go through that for a minute. Andrew Taki pled not guilty. Adam Jackson pled not guilty to all charges. Daryl Neely, we already talked about him. Brandon Fellows pled not guilty. Brian Jackson pled not guilty. Christopher Quaglin pled not guilty. Not guilty. And our crowd pleads not guilty. William Robert Norwood pled not guilty. Ryan Samsel pled not guilty. Samuel Lazar pled not guilty. And a lot of these guys pled guilty because their charges, frankly, were resulting from things like them using pepper spray or pushing or doing. Blame them for pleading guilty on something like that. They've got them. Zachary Alam pled not guilty to all charges. Y'all know who Zachary Alam is, right? He's the guy that was busting the window that Ashley Babbitt went through.
He's the guy that she tried to stop.
Yeah. In fact, she saved his life because she hit him with that left hook and knocked his glasses off, and he leaned over.
He would have got
and
that
that's
bullet.
when she went through the window. Yeah, because he was standing in the window.
He was probably the one that was shot at.
Very possibly. I mean, the fact that they could see him beating on the window from the inside probably what drew the gun that way.
So, Tom brings up an interesting point. A lot of these guys, I was just seeing one of the guys that are identified in that Times article. They did something that I would say is, and I'm sure they would agree with me in retrospect, was stupid. They posted videos of things that they were doing that were at minimum misdemeanors on YouTube, TikTok, whatever. And tactically, that was stupid. And I don't mean to hammer my J6 guys because their heart was in the right spot. They're patriots to the end. But tactically, that was kind of not smart.
And then bring whatever they took home.
yeah, you know, taking souvenirs,
they're not
those
used to
kinds of
doing
things.
stuff like this.
So, but then on the other hand, you know, it is the people's house. But that doesn't mean whatever the case may be. And so that's kind of the fine line. But I look at this and I see the guys that pled innocent, not guilty, if you will. Those are guys that are still in the fight. They're defending their right to actually show up in the house that the people built.
But you know, if this were a left-wing demonstration, they would have all got $150 fines.
I would
Very few.
I would extend that. If this was a left-wing demonstration,
And if the rubber
buildings would
bullets
burn,
and
people
everything-
would get killed, and nobody would be charged.
And if the police had not started it to begin with,
Well, so that's a great one you just brought up. So the comment was the rubber bullets and so on. Robert Morse, who served 3 tours in Afghanistan, and again, very highly educated, well-spoken, thoughtful Christian, you know, just very calm and together and so on. And he's using this time to better himself. And the judge asked him at one point, right prior to sentencing, he says, "Well, why'd you do what you did?" He thought just for a half a pause and said, "Well, all I can say is it was chaotic. There was a lot going on. There was smoke, there was gas, there was rubber bullets, there were flashbangs, and did I revert to some of my training? Possibly. But I guess that didn't hurt him. It was honest, it was truthful, but the judge was going to make an example out of him anyway, and as I said earlier, he got 66 months. So,
I saw him.
the judge made a comment that there's a lot of you out there too,
Like
highly
this.
trained, former military. So I think he was trying to make a point out of that.
Yeah, so that's a negative.
A negative, right?
How's the chickens?
they're cute. The little baby ones are.
They're good looking. We don't have any callers yet.
I kind of have to wonder if they're in transit somewhere, the ones that you visited earlier.
Yeah.
Because we usually get a good 8 or 9 calls from folks, and it's a relatively consistent list. And now that it seems most of them have been through this particular phase, I wonder where they are.
I think some of them were disheartened, unfortunately. A couple days ago, and she said that she's picked up on from some of the calls that some of these guys have gotten really discouraged. So I don't, that's subjective, but
I think they have.
I mean, it's kind of hard to imagine how they couldn't. To me, I mean, how would you feel if you basically committed a misdemeanor and you end up getting years and years? I mean,
It would truly be difficult to not be depressed.
You guys, we should change the format. You should bring the chairs up here and sit down, and we should have a conversation.
So,
Come on in, John. Yeah.
I'm gonna go change Jackson.
yes, there are several of us that are supporting the J6ers. Actually, more.
So I wanted to let you know I'm now connected with Jeffrey on the Core Links thing. So I sent him a note this morning. Yeah. Do you have anything you want to update on him?
Jeffrey met with his counselor, and she has recommended that he spend his last 200 plus days in a halfway house. So, according to his figures and what she was saying, is that he could possibly be moved in February. But I'm not sure who has the final decision.
That's awesome.
So he was very excited.
Wow.
I think he should be, because as I understand the system, when you've got a counselor that's court assigned, and the counselor's going to make a recommendation, it takes an awful lot of energy to just go against recommendations on the part.
Okay, I didn't know where this. Sam.
It's part of the system.
Well, yeah, right. So, and then he asked about the camp that's there too, if he would qualify for that, and they said that they would discuss that in August.
Camp?
The camp, because most of these facilities have the facility, and then they have the camp. That's more
Like out in the woods kind of stuff?
No. It's called a camp, but it's lower security. It's minimum. I think it's called minimum security. Where he is now, it's called low. But look, he said Lewisburg is the best place. Then it's Loretto, where he is now. Then DC, and then Northern Neck. But they're allowed to go to the library. They have to wait. I think they go like on the hour, and then they can go to the library. They can go outside. So that's what it's like being a minimum. And there's no lockdown. The phones are turned off like at 11:30 at night. The food is decent. Lewisburg was better, but he said this was decent. So, and there are some other J6ers there.
You know, you bring to mind a couple of points. One of them is that when we go to these monthly meetings here at NNRJ, one of the things that gets touted is the cost savings to the taxpayers, and it's almost like it's a profit center for them, kind of like that whole prison industrial complex thing. But I don't think they're quite grasping the whole point. Is that because those of us that believe in the Constitution and the American way, if it requires taxpayer dollars to take care of these guys well, I'm happy to pay it. I don't think that being incarcerated means that you should be treated poorly and badly. And I don't mean to totally derail your conversation, but that's a point that's been kind of nagging at me
Because
for a while.
the Northern Neck here, they've got the money.
Oh yes.
They've got a big surplus, but the guys are suffering because the money that, from my understanding, is being given from for the federal prison is not being used on the inmates. They're pocketing the money. Because, I mean, from my understanding, federal gives them money for medical. They weren't supposed to be paying for their phone calls.
Right.
Somebody over here is
Somebody
pocket-
here's
right.
They're not even
let's not even be polite about
The
it.
ramen noodles was what, $1.15 over here?
They're a quarter in the grocery store.
Right. And even when you get to federal, the commissary is a lot less expensive than what they want to charge you over here.
Well, we know
And
how
over
much
here,
it's
see, they've got a system going on. They don't feed the guys food. So they have to buy the commissary.
So,
Jeffrey's mom was telling us that one of the reasons why he worked as a trustee in the kitchen, because they get an extra plate of food a day.
Well, but here at Northern Neck, the COs, correctional officers, have a different menu. So if they don't eat all the food, the chicken fingers, the baked potatoes, then the kitchen crew can have it. He went here, I want to say 18 months without a piece of fresh fruit. He finally got an apple when he went to the kitchen to work, because it was left over from the COs. And that's how he got MRSA, was because he was malnutrition due to the lack of vitamins. And he was taking vitamins that he bought from the commissary. But the food is so lacking here that the guys were malnourished. He and the other guys, they were taken to Lewisburg at different times. And when another group came in after he had been out of here for about a month, he's like, Mom, those guys look like they had came out of a concentration camp. They were so thin, so gaunt. He said, Mom, it was sad. And that's because of the lack of nutrition and food here in Northern Neck.
What's going on?
It's because you're facing the phone of the speakers. If you were sitting over here, it wouldn't do it.
Yeah, no, it's not work.
But you were going to say. There you go.
There you go.
Go ahead, try it again.
Try it again.
Okay, what do you want me to talk
I
about?
don't know. I thought you were going to say something.
You were talking about. We were
I
talking.
think it's my magnetic personality.
It is.
We were talking about malnutrition here and the lack of nutrients, the food here, and one of the dishes that the guys call is cat food
Right.
because it was so horrible.
Yeah, there's been a lot of input. At the Gloucester meeting, there was a lady whose sister worked here in the kitchen and said that some of the consumption
Correct.
or requires additional processing. And I talked to another person lately who verified that. I can give you an update on some of the whistleblowers and maybe some things they don't know. We do have some additional whistleblowers. One lady is a recently retired CO. She disclosed that one of the techniques they use when they rough up the prisoners is there's a way you can pause the cameras. There's a pause button where they can basically cut it off till they're done with their dirty deeds, then cut it back on. There are some other disclosures too involving Ryan Samsel. As I think most of you know, we not only had the transcript of the 911 calls, but we had the actual audio tapes. And when you listen to them, I noticed a couple things right away. One was the happy-go-lucky attitude of, oh no, he's fine. Oh, that's what we figured. I mean, so evidently they just brush this stuff off regularly. But also I noticed that the voice that answered the phone sounded very familiar. And it dawned on me that it might be Captain English himself. Well, he doesn't talk a lot in the meeting, so just to be sure, I went back and watched some of his performances as a town council member, and lo and behold, it was Captain English. So I sent him an email informing him of that, and asked, since he had said that Ryan Samsel was fine, let me hold up for a second. I think a call might be coming in.
Turn it.
This call is from a correction facility and is subject to monitoring. Link.
That's the special Fat Boy edition. Two Fat Boys on
Hello.
a good one.
Hey Tom, what's going on? It's Chris Swagland calling from
Oh, good. I
the
love it.
Gulag.
Hey, Chris!
Hey, Chris, you're getting a lot of great feedback here from folks. Good to hear your voice.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted, it's been crazy over here. I just wanted to say, thank you again for all of the support, and we wouldn't have been out of there without you guys. So I wanted to say thank you. We went through a little bit of hell over here. Now they got the lockdown 50-50. There was a couple arguments, a couple fights here and there. I don't know if you heard them, but it is what it is. People are starting to lose hope and lose their cool, and it is what it is. I guess it's part of the process. But some bad news and then some good news. Kenny got 48 months, so that's a huge win. you know, hopefully more and more truth is getting out there.
Yeah, we were just talking about that's probably part of what's going on. You're our first caller, so thanks for calling in. I will tell you that I was at the sentencing for partially for Stuart Rhodes, and then also for Robert Morse and for Nick Brockhoff. Did you know either of those guys?
Robert Morris was one of my co-defendants.
Right.
Yeah, I'm here. You know, Stuart Rhodes is here, obviously.
Right.
You know, I just know him just from what's going on.
So the good. Let me just tell you this real quick. Nick Brockhoff got 36 months, which was a significant downgrade from the sentencing guidelines. So that was deemed as a big win with having a judge actually downgrade a sentence.
That's awesome. Yeah, I have. I got 6 weeks until trial, and now I'm on lawyer number 3, and I haven't talked to her about 15 minutes because the jail keeps on denying us call time. She asked for 12 hours a week, 4 hours 3 times a day, or 3 times a week, and they said you can have 45 minutes every Friday, except this Friday, and this Friday, until trial. And that's because those credits are already filled up.
Right to representation.
So, I'm sorry?
Somebody's saying that's an infringement of your rights for sure.
Well, yeah. I mean, they also said that I didn't have the right to view evidence.com, and he said that multiple times. That's what I pay my lawyer for, he said. So, my lawyer, again, hasn't, I mean, there's so much, I don't know what's going to happen. We're going to go into court, and what am I supposed to do? Like, you know what I mean? Now I'm on, you know, unfortunately, Joe McBride didn't look at my discovery for a year and a half. So, I mean, I couldn't look at it. You know, I didn't have the option to look at it. So, at Northern Neck, you know, and I was given it. This whole thing is crazy. You know, they moved me back to the gulag after they moved me out of the gulag 18 months ago, or whatever it was. You know, it's insane. So, and now they're feeding me, for the most part, they're feeding me correctly, which means that they could have done it from the beginning.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
And they never had to move me. There was no reason. My discovery was sitting here, waiting for me. Everyone was getting evidence.com. If I would have been here for 18 months, I would have been, you know, 12 months into evidence.com and had access to, you know, it's insane. I don't, this isn't America, you know?
It's America with a K.
It's absolutely insane. I really hope that if anyone is talking to any Congress members in passing, tell them about my story. They literally moved me in a giant circle, 4 different jails. Every other person that went to Rappahannock was sent out back home. They gave instead of sending me home because I couldn't get evidence.com, they sent me here. And then I've been here for 4 months, 3.5 since I've signed the piece of paper, the non-disclosure, which is my 3rd time signing it, by the way. It's my 3rd time signing it, and I signed it in front of the judge. And he goes, okay, well then you'll have evidence.com, and the government said, well, there's a couple things that need to take place. Okay, well you'll have evidence.com shortly then. Well, that was 3.5 months ago.
So John Haynes is here. He wants to say something to you, Chris. Hang on just a second, okay? I'm just going to do this. Switch hands, John. I'll just hold it for you. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, Chris, this is John Haynes. How are you?
Hey, John, how you doing, brother?
Good. I was just getting ready to call your dad to try to get some information.
Be careful. Remember, this is recorded, so.
Yeah, no, I understand.
They already know, but I mean, the feds already know that they. I mean, come on, the feds already know everything, but they set it up. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a specific question. I've recently gotten some tapes of 911 calls, and major, I'll be kind and say misstatements. And I just wanted to, I know that you had some bad situations with him. Is there anything you can add as far as him interfering with your rights? Anything really relevant?
Yeah. They kept me. Listen, there is what I gave to Joe McBride, and he never let out on August 26th. That after taking away the only when I was only eating commissary, they pulled me out of the cell and they put me into medical. So I was under medical's hold, and they took away my commissary. My wife has a very, very detailed list of the events that happened. Okay, it's about a page long. It's just like, this happened from this date to this date, this date to this date, this date to this date. They took away my commissary when it was the only thing that I was eating from a charge that was bullshit, but whatever, but a charge that was over a month old or 2 months old. They said, oh, by the way, it went through the appeal process, you were denied, so we're taking away your commissary. First, they took away my commissary for 2 weeks, which cut my intake from 1,500 calories a day, 5 protein bars, down to 2.5 protein bars. So I was, or 2 protein bars basically. So I was down to 600 calories a day. Then on my birthday, and they were denying me video calls the whole time, even though I wasn't there for disciplinary purposes. I was just brought in for medical purposes. So meanwhile, I'm under medical supervision, and they took away the only food I was eating. They wouldn't let me see the doctor for 2 weeks. I was in there. Okay, then they pulled me out to go to go see Judge McFadden, where Joe McBride didn't tell Judge McFadden about any of this. And then all of a sudden they have the marshals come in the one day that I'm gone, and I'm in DC. They have the marshals come through and search Northern Neck. They're all in cahoots with each other. Okay, that was August 21st or something like that. I think I don't quote me, but something like that. Then on my birthday, August 26th, and this is all documented. I could ask my wife for it. I know, or ask my dad for it. She'll get it for you. My wife has it though. On my birthday, I was supposed to see my son on a video chat. The video chat in that room was never hooked up in the medical room. So they let me. They faked it and said I could see my videos, the video chat. Then I called them out on it. I had an old cellmate that explained all of this. So they basically tortured me. They wouldn't let me use the phone. It's all detailed information. I have it written down from months previous on my daily notes that my roommate, my cellmate, told me this. His name is Curtis Bowen. His wife, because it was only his girlfriend, is the woman who died there at Northern Neck, and they locked him in solitary for like months and months so that they couldn't have him talk to the lawyer. But anyway, he told me about all this, that they do this. I sure as shit, I get pulled into there, and then on my birthday, August 26th, they threw me into the hole. They took what little commissary I had left, which was like 2-3 bags of rice and like 2 candy bars or protein bars. They took that from me, and then I spent from August 26th to August 29th, I spent eating absolutely zero food until finally they saw the doctor. I saw the doctor, and the doctor upped me to 7 insurers or whatever it was per day. It's absolutely insane. I was physically and mentally tortured at Northern Neck. Yeah, go ahead.
What I'm trying to say is it appears as though, and I've got extensive evidence, including some of which you just discussed, it appears as though English is the one who pretty much orchestrates this. Is that accurate?
Yeah. Yes, he did. And he was the one who said, oh, well, it's above my pay grade, it's above my pay grade. And then he was the one who finally brought me back after 4 days, Bart's just getting pulled out for some reason, I don't know why. But he was the one who, quote unquote, saved the day and brought
Good cop, bad cop.
The insured.
and brought my three things of rice. And he said, well, hopefully this will, keep you off over until, whatever day. It's crazy.
Well, they purposely contaminated this food too.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody here is saying they feel like they purposely contaminated your
Well, we
food.
know
So.
for a fact they did. Yeah.
Absolutely, they did. Absolutely, we have record from Phil's. My lawyer has a record from Phil's. Phil's sister has a peanut butter allergy, so he kind of knows what the deal is. They did my tray on the food line last. So why would you do my food? Why would you do a specialty item that can't have any cross-contamination last?
Make sure it's.
Why wouldn't you do it first?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just common sense. These people didn't know what they were doing. You know how many times I dug through the food and I would find pieces of other food and this and that? I'm saying, guys, I can't. What are you guys doing? Like, it's of course, that's why I stopped eating the trays at Northern Neck, because I was getting sick. My body was barely holding on. I'd work out in the morning and I'd go to sleep. And then I'd sleep for 8-10 hours, and then I'd wake up, I'd work out, I'd nap for 4 hours or 3 hours, and then I'd sleep for another 10. And that was my whole day. That's all I had the energy to do.
You have 1 minute remaining.
I lost 55 pounds at Northern Neck. I lost over a quarter of my body weight at Northern Neck. I'm back.
Good.
So, I mean, that's the good news, but, it's crazy. I was literally tortured. I have thousands of pages just from daily notes of people getting beat at Northern Neck. I have numbers galore. You just got to ask John for them. I can get them. We just have to have the time to go through it.
Yeah,
I literally have Ted Hole on and the Northern Neck Jail on a silver platter. All you have to do is go through my notes, and you can have full access to them. I'll give you full access to them. You can tell John that you just want full access to them and just a photocopy. As long as they go back in order, I have no problem with you have full access.
Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
you lost it.
Yeah, that's why I was asking particulars, because I've got hundreds of pages of stuff with him.
What? Yeah, I don't know if you wanted to talk.
Okay. Oh yeah, we were talking about English. There's some things that came up that I haven't reported on yet. At some point after Samson's beating, they had a court hearing, and English was there, and of course he denied everything. But after they got back to Northern Neck Jail, English met with Samsel and told him he would give him a private cell, a private phone, and thousands of dollars if he needed it on his commissary, as long as he wouldn't say anything further. And Samsel, to his credit, refused. So I think these people know they're in trouble. We have them on tape now lying about Samsel being okay. According to Samsel, the reason there were no records of his transport to the emergency room is that an off-duty CO was called in to transport him. And anyway, a lot more of this is coming to light. I don't want to discuss all of it now because I don't want them to know that what I know. So anyway, that's kind of an update, unless anybody has any questions.
Thanks, John. Somebody just texted me that we're sideways, so I'm going to shut it off and start it over again. Yeah, we probably are sideways in a lot of ways.
I was sideways for that. Well, actually, it's not true. When I get home, I'm going to get sideways.